So the fact is that there's a duplication, a replication of things. There's such a tremendous amount of waste in the system that when you step back and look at what's actually what's a necessity of life, and I don't mean just like having bread and water, not at all. I mean a highly abundant system with all sorts of elements. The planet leads. A highly system of all sorts of abundance, then the attributes of how we get this on a tangible utility, I'll answer that question in a second. On a utility basis, people will have a different relationship to the things that they have and what they use. So at that point, at that stage of awareness where people don't think of things, they don't look at themselves as representations of what they own and what they wear, and they look at themselves as far as what they think and what they do. This is a colossal change that will directly influence what is produced in our society tremendously and reduce a dramatic amount of shit that's produced and a dramatic amount of waste. 75% of all production on average is waste. Just blatant waste. And think about all the dumb shit that people own that you wonder why. You know what I mean? It goes on and on and on. So, back to your specific point. If you have a plot of land, say an acre of land, and you want to do something with it, build something or grow something on it, you will gauge what that has to offer. You look at the nutrients to see what the propensity of that land has, for, so say, growing a certain crop, or you look at the structure of it to what you can build on it. So it starts at a cellular level. The question isn't who makes the decisions. It's how are the decisions arrived at. And that is a colossal shift in our way of thinking. So opinions and subjectivity become backdoor to availability, technological understanding. To put it into a terminology, it's the scientific method applied to human society, where we think about things scientifically as far as what's there, what we can do, and how do we maximize it, and profit is not, for example, the creator of things. They say profit creates incentive. It's necessity. And there's plenty of things we can think of that we can constantly produce things of immense value to us in a utility and even artistic sense. There's so much stuff that we can do, but this system is parasitic and paralyzing. So, to think that we can never have an abundance in this system, first of all, that we currently have. We can never have all the things. So it's so foreign to us that we have no idea how to even comprehend it. So back to your original point, and back to what she said, how does the planet dictate these things? Well, first of all, we figure out what's important. We figure out what's real. We figure out what we need. First of all, you have people starving in Africa who are dying of HIV. They don't have anything. And we sit here and bitch about tiny little things that go on. People that complain about these nuances of government, they have no idea. They have no global perspective. So first we have to take care of the fact that we're not safe as long as people are dying in Africa. We're not safe on multiple levels as far as people are sleeping in the streets. First, we take care of all the bare necessities. It's a step-by-step thing in that regard. And then as things become more fluid, government would be a series of technological individuals that they don't make decisions. They regulate the empirical system based on this nervous system of technology that is inside of the planet to decide what we have at all times. We navigate everything, and all I can say is this long-winded description, but Jacques Fresco, if you read one of his books, The Best Money Can't Buy, he goes into this specifically. It's a totally different worldview that is so foreign to most of us. So I hope that answers your question to a certain degree. Well, you'd use things like the internet. You could have people. Here's one thing I want to say real fast. As far as property and this idea of intellectual property, this will be gone in the future. If you invent something, say you come up with an idea, you won't have an inclination to want to sell it. You'll want to improve society with it. So it becomes the public domain. Everything intellectual is in the public domain. All music is in the public domain. So think about how cataclysmic life would be if you invented something and you left without patenting it or concealing it. You went and you let everyone put their influence on it. All other technicians come forward. Do you realize how cataclysmic our development would be if you had the input from the world and whatever expertise you were going for on a specific product? It would be unbelievable. It'd be a cataclysmic shift if everyone actually worked together as opposed to fight. The great majority of things that we have today, only 4% of our population create. Why? Because most of the population is completely dumbed down, and they have no broad knowledge whatsoever. They don't have a technical understanding or a mathematical or scientific understanding. They don't know how to contribute to society. So we're stuck with people like Einstein and Galileo and these guys that, by the way, had no profit motive in what they were doing at all. They did it because they wanted to contribute to society. Einstein. What would happen through education is that people would grow and everyone would would start to contribute in an amazing way, because there would be no reason to have a stupid society. The government wouldn't construct its educational system the way it is, because all the government wants is to have somebody that's just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to not question anything that's going on around them. And that's the balance that they've been maintaining for a long time. So anyway. Microphone's not working.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, sorry. Okay, I've got a million and one questions I'd like to ask, but the one question I will ask is, how can everyone here that believes that we can go forward and kind of start making a difference, how can we go about doing that from now? How can we kind of go out, start spreading the word, opening people's eyes that kind of feel very kind of like blinkered? Like,
what's the transition?
Well, yeah, they're the people that we've got to kind of like explain to them. I mean, I say explain because I mean that's what we have to do. We have to go out there and kind of start explaining to people what's been going on. But how can we start making a positive difference to the world? Well,
I think the first step is education, because I sense a very conscious awareness in this room, but a great majority of people on this planet are not even remotely close. I mean, we have the biggest religion right now is Islam, which is growing very quickly, and it's inherently restrictive to its own development and rejects cultivation from the external world to a certain extent. It rejects modern ideology. It rejects, it bases itself on belief. That's a major barrier for ideologies. So what we have to do is keep functioning with the commonalities. So what I would advocate first is that basically the goal is to ultimately declare all resources on the planet as common heritage to everyone. So what we do is we start with the bare necessities, energy, which is why I go into it in the film. There's no reason for anyone to ever have to pay for energy whatsoever. And then it moves into food production. There's no reason for anyone to ever have to pay for food. You can have what you would think of traditionally as socialist programs in our current system, but they're not really that way whatsoever. What it is, it's using our ability for technological abundance and using that at the core bare necessities. Energy, food, housing, and then as people wake up to this and they realize what's possible, then it will slowly expand into a much greater technological construction. So I think those are the first steps. But the first step is education, because most people just have no consciousness of any of this.
sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean that's a very valid point. A lot of people, we're going to get shouted down. People won't listen. They won't want to listen because of what they hear, like from everyone else, and what they're told. Kind of like that's what is black and white. And how can we kind of? I mean, the internet's the last tool that we've got, really. Though,
yes.
For me,
internet's extremely important.
That is the last tool we've got to use. Yes. And I mean, I'm sure I think you mentioned networking. I mean, people need to start talking, and there's so many of us out there with the same ideas and the same ideology, and we need to start talking and get together, and kind of like everyone needs to start working together and kind of sidestepping around the governments, because they're just a massive barrier, and everyone needs to understand that, and we're the people that need to start making a difference.
Yes, I completely agree. Absolutely. The internet is extremely important because it's unified the world in an intellectual way. And this is radical. It's very radical that we have this ability now. We have to preserve that and make sure that they don't shut anything down as far as, the restructuring of it. So we have to preserve that by all means.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can tell us about the new Internet 2.
Oh, yeah, all that shit, yeah, I know.
Yeah. But while we're here, while there's a lot of us here, even after we finish with this question and answer with Peter, we've got an open mic, so do stick around and we can discuss amongst ourselves what we want to do. Next.